If you're as thrilled as if you'd bought a mansion in Los Angeles when your plans get canceled, welcome, because you're not alone. Imagine this moment. You're lounging on the couch on a Friday night when suddenly your phone rings. Hey, we're going to the new bar opening downtown tonight. Everyone will be there. The offer doesn't really appeal to you because you've got your eye on the warm blanket, your coffee's about to be ready, and the house is quiet. Why would you leave all these good things behind? The truth is this: your brain gives you a sense of peace that no crowd can provide. And neuroscience tells us that this is precisely where your brain works differently from other people's. Now, let's be clear. Choosing to stay home is not laziness, social anxiety, or running away from life. It doesn't mean any of those things. Your brain recharges at home, just like extroverts recharge from social interactions. We're not arguing about which is right. Two different brains, two different charging stations. The American brain becomes active through social interactions. When they enter a crowded party, their dopamine systems explode like fireworks. When laughter rises and conversations deepen, their brains want more each time. Dopamine is our brain's reward chemistry. Extroverts get this reward from chaos, noise, and constant interaction. Their brains are literally optimized for being out there. This is where the real difference begins. Your brain operates at a different pace. Psychologists call this needing fewer external stimuli. In other words, your dopamine system is more sensitive. It charges up very quickly and says, "I've been stimulated enough." Imagine entering a crowded environment. Can you feel the mental fatigue setting in? The sounds, lights, and conversations that most people enjoy are a mental burden for you. If you think this applies to you, subscribe. And the scientific side of things is even more surprising. Researchers at Northwestern University found that people who work alone perform better at creative problem solving. Interesting, isn't it? While you're doing nothing, your brain is actually continuing to work in the background at its most efficient. Think of it this way. Extroverts are like back-to-back espressos throughout the day, intense and fast. You, on the other hand, are like a slowly brewed filter coffee. You need silence, time, and your own space. Thousands of years ago, even in tribes, there were two types of people: those who walked in pursuit of prey, tracked herds, and explored new territories. But there were also those who stayed behind in the same tribe, those who protected food, repaired tools, and studied the stars in time. Today, people who love staying at home carry on the legacy of those who stayed behind. And perhaps that is why the most groundbreaking ideas are still born in quiet rooms, far from the crowd. So, which ancestor's legacy do you carry? Let's discuss it in the comments. Does that mean people who love being outside are worthless? No. Their energy, enthusiasm, and ability to act immediately keep the world moving. Your power, however, emerges from the depth of your own world, your inner richness and your calmness. We are not discussing good or bad here. Some change the world through action, others through depth, like you. There is also a group of people who choose to stay at home for deeper reasons. Past traumas, social anxiety, depression. A voice inside them whispers, "What's the point of being outside?" For them, home is like a fortress. At this point, it is important to make a clear distinction. There is a huge difference between choosing to stay at home and seeing your home as a fortress. If staying home recharges you, makes you more productive, and calms you down, that's a choice. But if you're escaping from feared rejection or social pressure, welcome to your refuge. This is where you need to be honest with yourself. Is your home your charging station, or is it your refuge? Share your reason in the comments and let's talk about it. Let's also talk about meaning. People who love staying home find meaning in moments that most people rush past, perhaps without even noticing. They know how to pause and live the moment calmly, drinking their morning coffee according to their own internal clock without a rush, burying themselves in their favorite couch and losing themselves in a book, or watching the evening sun filter through the window. Rest assured, these are not ordinary things. They are signs of a rich inner world. Ultimately, when you cancel your Friday night plans, you're not missing out on anything outside. On the contrary, you're getting closer to your inner self. You're choosing tranquility over noise, being with yourself over being with the crowd. Maybe no one told you, but being able to be alone with yourself is one of the most forgotten but most healing powers in this day and age. So why do most people shine in social chaos while you shine at home? The story behind this choice is very different. Your story may have started at a birthday party when you were only 7 years old. Your friends were running around, playing, but you were quietly playing with your toy on the sidelines. At that moment, your brain whispered something. This place is too stimulating, but in that corner, everything is under my control. I'm happy. Over the years, this feeling repeated itself at school, at family gatherings. Do you remember the warning? Come on, talk. Why are you so quiet? As the noise increased, you withdrew. Today, when you choose to stay home, you're not running away from life, you're actually following a permission you learned a long time ago. As the story continues, you see that when you enter a bar, the sound of the music, the people talking, the temperature of the room, it all tires your brain. You may have spent years looking for a fault in yourself for this. No, you are not at fault. It's just that your senses perceive the world in higher resolution. Most people filter this, but you can't. Everything comes in as it is, in all its intensity. In psychology, this is called high sensory sensitivity. It's a trait seen in about 1/5 of the population. So the discomfort you feel when you enter a bar is not an unfounded alarm. Your brain is literally saying, there are too many stimuli here. At home, however, sensory input is minimal. Your brain finds an environment where it can rest. But this is where the most magical part of the story begins. Your story also turns into an existential choice when you reach your current age. By the way, I'd love it if you mentioned your age in the comments. Most people flee from silence because they don't want to be alone with themselves. Questions like, what will I think if I'm alone? What will I feel? Bother them. You, on the other hand, took the opposite path. Instead of fleeing from solitude, you embraced it. You learned to wander within your mind, to hear the voice of your thoughts. And doing this required incredible maturity. Philosopher Blaise Pascal said, all of humanity's problems stem from the fact that people cannot sit alone in a room in silence. You developed this capacity, and precisely because of this, you possess an inner depth that most people never reach. Now, I ask you this, what will knowing all this change in your life? Because perhaps that thing you couldn't name for years controlled you, but now you see. What you learned in childhood, the sensitivity of your senses, your outlook on life. You now know that when you decline an invitation, it's not called running away, it's called knowing your own mind. There are two paths before you. The first path is to embrace this structure, accept what you brought with you from childhood, your sensory sensitivity, and the relationship you have built with your inner world, and shape your life accordingly, maybe even your career. You may prefer quiet workspaces over crowded offices. The second path is to slowly expand your boundaries with small and controlled steps. Maybe you can read a book in a cafe for an hour, or have a simple dinner with two close friends, whichever feels good to you. Now you know your story. You are aware of this trait you have carried with you from childhood to today. And with this awareness, you are making conscious choices. The next video will surely affect you even more than this one. See you there.